Hello, and welcome to the Gray Area, where I give interviews with developers, talk about gaming news and reviews, and focus on the interrelationships between gamers. My name is Genesee Gray, and this is the 74th episode in a weekly series called A Very Close Call. Here with me is Avery Alix, product manager at Popcap Games. Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. I'm so glad we finally managed to get together.
I'm sorry about getting a little bit mixed up with my hardware last week.
That's okay. These things happen. Last week's episode was a discussion with Chris Scott from Chocolate Lemon and 8-Bit about Evo and competitive gaming. Please visit www.genesee.com to add to the forum discussion on that topic and to tell me your story. Today's Monday, July 30th, and we are going to discuss PopCap Games and learn all about Avery. So let's talk about news of the week. News of the week. This is not necessarily gaming news, but I'm interested in your opinion on this, Avery. I've learned recently that Google's given a huge middle finger to the cable company by allowing you to request free fiber service in your area if you get a basic number of subscribers, which I think is 25. Right now it's only available in Kansas City, but it's pretty exciting, I think, considering that you can get a web-only gigabit internet plan for $70, which, let's see, is 14 megabits per second, new fiber service, which you're usually getting 0.8 megabits with Time Warner. And I know personally, where I am, Comcast is not well loved. So for gaming, I find that cable gets annoying at times, and this is kind of an interesting way that they're trying to push innovation and speed on that. So what do you think when this spreads out throughout the country? Do you think it's something that you'll get on board with, or do you think it'll challenge the traditional cable companies?
You know, honestly, I think that a lot of what they're proposing is kind of preposterous, but Google has a reputation for pulling off preposterous things and making it work.
Okay.
Like Street View, so it's a little difficult for me to say. I don't have a strong enough understanding of how they would actually make a return on the hardware investment that they need to make.
Okay.
I guess that's what they're going to find out in Kansas City.
Ooh, did I just lose you? There you go. I got some lag for a second. I'm waiting for it to pass.
All right.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I was just saying, you know, most countries, most developed countries have a stronger fiber network than the U.S., and their population centers are maybe a little bit more distributed. So I think that it's pretty feasible to upgrade the infrastructure in the U.S., and I don't think it's going to happen on its own. So with Google lending a hand, I think that consumers and the business sector as a whole stand nothing but to gain from this. Also, given that Comcast is a fellow Golden Poo recipient, I would love to see them step up their game.
Very true. I find I'm jealous of the West Coast with their wireless connections everywhere and free Wi-Fi. We haven't quite made it over here to the East Coast. I don't know in Seattle if that's the case for you or not, but I would love to see the whole country have at least a basic wireless, even though it's not quite as fast as it could be.
Well, it's a good way, if wireless technology keeps leapfrogging, bound technology, then I think it would be a good way for us to simply leapfrog the fiber era. But I mean, you still need a fiber backbone to run all of that stuff anyway. It just happens well beyond the consumer's touch. So if someone's going to get the work done, I don't really care who it is personally.
Agreed. Some news for Ubisoft game players, for specifically PC players. The revelation that installing the company's Uplay game management system can apparently open up your computer to malicious code insertion has upset fans and created more hoopla for the hate of DRM. And you can fix this apparently by updating your Uplay PC application, as long as you don't have a web browser open, to fix that plugin, or you can reinstall Uplay. So if you do have a game from Ubisoft, and you might want to consider closing that opening into your PC, just FYI. And let's go to you. What is your exciting news of the week?
I'm a little excited about the new live-action Halo video trailer that came out, Forward Unto Dawn. We've kind of been waiting for, and I was talking with a friend of mine about this quite a lot last week, but we've been waiting for a live-action Halo video of any real caliber since rumors of Peter Jackson and Weta doing something back in 2007. There have been a couple kind of good commercials and a couple of interesting trailers that came out, but this looks like it's the first real major effort. And then it also completely caught my eye. Because it was shot where I did my undergrad studies in Vancouver. So, like a lot of television shows, Battlestar Galactica and things like that, it's all shot in the same place.
Awesome.
A little excited.
Are they giving a projected date?
Yeah, I think they're planning on doing 5 15-minute episodes in October, and my understanding is that, and at this point I think this is potentially hearsay, but if you miss it, it'll be edited together into like an hour and a half long feature instead of 15-minute episodes. So there should be some sort of like collective whole where you don't have to sit through trailers in between or anything.
Excellent. Okay, well, that seems something to check out.
I'm not even that big a Halo fan, but it looks really well made. So
I'm always excited by the live action adaptations to see how true to the actual game it is and how realistic they can get the armor.
Master Chief looks tall. That much is realistic.
Excellent. So let's talk about gaming a little bit and find out what got you into that. If you were a gaming child, or when were you first realized that you were attracted to gaming?
I think I saw games as a fun hobby when I was a young child, like 4 or 5. I enjoyed playing Galaga down at the pizzeria. It wasn't until I went over to my cousin's place over some Christmas, I think it was, and got hooked on The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Brothers 2 that I really realized that it was something that really spoke to me and compelled me. I didn't think I'd end up working in games directly until I was an undergrad and I was studying various communication media, and I realized absolutely nobody was studying video games, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Um, and then from there, it was a slow transition into the games industry. But it started mostly because I thought games are an important way, not only for people to consume entertainment media, but also for people to form strong connections. There's a lot of community around gaming, and that's something that I find pretty exciting.
Excellent. I understand that you started at Microsoft. What was your job there, and how was the transition from that to PopCap?
Well, there were a few transitions that happened at Microsoft first.
Okay, take me through
My
that.
my first role at Microsoft was I was working as they call it a project manager for the group that did kind of embedded promotions for third-party advertisers. So if you could get a free Nissan Maxima in Forza 3, our team would help handle
I
that.
see. Okay.
Things like they also did dashboard advertising and things like that. It was a really good opportunity for me to get to know a lot of people on a lot of different teams. And in my case, with a couple degrees in communication, it was a good opportunity for me to explain to someone on the phone in 60 seconds why my skill set might apply. So I figured, they would assume that a communication degree meant I was an advertiser or a newscaster, one or the other. So it was a great first step into the games industry. From there, I kind of took my project management um, skills and the connections that I was able to make, and I ended up working at Xbox Live, where I managed the community and events portions of the dashboard, as well as doing some UI work around the launch of the NXE when they redid the Xbox dashboard.
Okay.
So it went from the old style to the new thing with the avatars and that new dashboard. So I got to participate in the creation of that and running that for a couple of years. I came over to Popcap kind of as a careful lateral step. I moved on to social games here at first because Xbox Live is very much a service, and social games, much more than a packaged digital product, really ought to be run as a service because you're constantly releasing, constantly updating. You're looking at considerations you don't normally have in a packaged retail good, like user churn and re-engagement and things like that. So Popcap was looking for someone with project management and game production experience in in a service instead of a retail good, and that made for a good transition for me here.
I see. Can you define some of those terms for me? I'm not familiar with user turn, or I think you said re-service, something like that.
Re-engagement, yeah. So
Yes, re-engagement.
these are kind of like subscription-based words, right? So churn is the number of users that you lose over a given time period. So you might, if you're a cell phone provider or something like that, you might lose 1 million subscribers every month.
Okay.
That's your churn rate. And you want to make sure that you're acquiring more users than your churn rate, otherwise you're simply going to fail. A better way to focus on things from a service perspective is just don't churn your users. Make sure that you keep them re-engaged. You get the phone every couple of years. That's why they keep doing that, because it's a lot easier to hold on to a user that's already built some brand loyalty than it is to bring someone new in the door. It's really expensive to do that. That's the term re-engagement refers to anytime you get someone involved in software as a service to come back. So
I
if
see.
you might re-engage with Facebook if you haven't logged in a week, but then you get an email saying, hey, your friends have left you messages, come check it out. You could log back into Facebook. That's a re-engagement effort. We do the same things in games all the time. It's just social games offer a little bit more opportunity to do that. And now that I'm working I work with social games at PopCap, but also with mobile games, there's starting to be a lot more re-engagement efforts there, like push messages that go out to your phone and say, hey, it's your turn in Words with Friends. don't forget to get back to your mother because your game's going to end in 24 hours or something like that.
Right. Yes, I get some of those myself. Your pets need you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, as a product manager, it seems like you have a lot of skills in marketing. What sort of things do you do other than host events to try to get people interested in these things?
Well, some of my background's in marketing. Not all product managers, have a very strong marketing background. You can kind of look at the term as sort of interchangeable with the word producer.
Hmm.
So because of my background, I'm a little bit more familiar with marketing efforts than some PMs might be. Um, mm, when I first came on at Popcap, my role was to be one of two producers basically on our title Zuma Blitz, which was a social game.
Yes.
So there was I was focused on everything from helping deliver back-end systems that would allow us to serve media into the game, as well as ensuring that we had good email programs connected in with a proper sort of user addressability, so we could determine, what audience segment they might fall into. So if you've hit level 7 and it took you 12 days, you're a little bit slow at it, we'll give you some tips, we'll send you some, freebies, and encourage you to check out this video stream that offers, more behind the scenes and tips because you need a little helping hand. So those are the kind of marketing efforts that were involved at the time in that. And then kind of there's obviously a lot more kind of tactical execution on engineering considerations as well. But I have since then reorganized away from game development back into marketing. So now I work in marketing as a product manager.
Okay. Well, it seems like you did a good job considering that Zuma Blitz was the winner of the IGN's Facebook Game of the Year, King of Swag. I just think I call it the King of Swag, the Facebook Game of the Year, which is excellent.
It was fun. Take much credit for it. It was a really, really giant, brilliant team that had done a lot of work before I started. So
Excellent. So, what would you say is the difference working for PopCap versus Microsoft as far as the environment? Is one let's just leave it open like that.
Wow, there's a lot of differences. Obviously, I think the first thing I should say is that Microsoft is such a big company. I can't say what it's like to work at Microsoft. With 50,000 employees and who knows how many contractors, every team can have a really different, feel and culture. And Microsoft is a great
I could
place.
see that.
They're a fantastic employer. They generally care about their employees and career progression and their families and all sorts of things a great deal. So in that way, PopCap and Microsoft are very, very similar. They're really deeply invested in having long-term employees that they keep around for a long time. The environment at PopCap is a little bit more quirky, just people tend to be relatively direct. So,
Really? Okay. At PopCap? I'm sorry, that's
Yeah.
some loud music happening in the background. Let it pass.
This must be the exciting portion.
That's right. This is where you break out into an impromptu dance.
Yeah, that's right. No, at PopCap, everyone is expected to have an opinion and to be direct with it. It's an environment in which if I have a really strong opinion of something, I can cut all the way through the chain, go all the way up the ladder to the very top and go talk with someone about it and say, hey, by the way, this project I'm not involved with at all. I have some feedback and I'd like for you to hear it, and they're expected to hear it, and I'm expected to know what I'm talking about. Microsoft is a little bit more structured and hierarchical than that.
Okay.
Probably needs to be. You wouldn't want every single person, going to the lead architect of Windows and saying, by the way, I used Windows last week and here's what I thought.
Is there a difference in number of employees? I mean, obviously Microsoft is huge. I don't know what the average employee count of PopCap is, but I can imagine that it would be a little more intimate.
A lot. Yeah, I think we're still growing, but I think we're at about maybe 650 people now worldwide. Okay. It's been growing quite a lot, but it's still a tiny drop in the bucket compared to the number of people working at Microsoft. Of course, now that PopCap's been acquired by Electronic Arts, the difference is starting to close a little bit. But PopCap operates pretty strongly at this point as a satellite on our own. So
okay, do you suspect you'll continue to have that anonymity where you're kind of completely separate, and or do you expect there'll be some more merging with EA?
There's going to be more and more merging, but one of the things that they've been very clear all the way right up to the very top.